Hello, hello. Hope everyone is doing well out there. I am recording this on a Mars day, Mars night, Tuesday night, February 11th at a Venus hour. And there's a couple of things I wanted to mention about the full moon in Leo happening on the 12th at 5:54 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And there are so many synchronicities and signatures of sovereignty connected to this full moon, and as an Aquarius moon, I'm all about it. So this moon is in the sign of Leo, and it is opposing the sun in Aquarius. That's what makes it a full moon. And then the ruler of Aquarius is in the sign of Taurus, making a T-square to the moon and the sun. And the sun is the ruler of Leo, and the sun is associated with our ego. And Leos, if you know any Leos, if you have any amazing Leos in your life, you know that they're very comfortable with being, or most of them are comfortable with being center of attention or on stage and having their ego fed with this attention. And they just, whether they ask for it or not, they just draw this attention in because they have this natural creativity, this natural way of expressing themselves in their own unique creative way. And that is something that we do want to embody. And the fact that Uranus is squaring the sun and the moon in Leo kind of tells me that this is a shattering of the ego. It's kind of like a dissolving of the ego, like a rebirth, and setting aside your pride and really kind of coming out. You know, this is a strong energy, a strong Uranian energy. And when I looked up the definition of Uranian, I was expecting to see like descriptions of like sudden insights or surprise or erratic behavior, but it also lists Uranian as homosexual, which is like an older term dated a gay man. And the way I see this is like a coming out, like a liberation. When someone comes out, there's this feeling of unabashed expression of who they know to be. And that's kind of this feeling of the Leo full moon, just really owning who you are without any shame and being proud of who you are. You know, there's a different kind of pride connected to this particularly Leo full moon, which is different from the pride of attachment, like being attached to our old belief systems and not letting go of any kind of like self-righteousness. So we have to expect the unexpected, expect to be corrected. You know, if there are events, you know, sudden events that kind of have this feeling of a dawning of insight, like surprise insight that we weren't expecting, that changes our mind. This is something that we will want to embrace and, you know, not be connected or not be attached to our previous paradigms or previous belief systems, and know that if it's happening right now, we have to trust in the intelligence of the universe, because all of the signatures that are happening are in such brilliant configurations that allow us to really lean into the support that we are being offered right now by the universe. And with this full moon, with the signature, is Mercury, which is the ruler of our Virgo South Node, at 26 degrees Aquarius, and the sun is at 24 degrees Aquarius. And they just came out of, that's when Mercury is in the heart of the sun and is receiving these potent messages to carry forward in our progress. Mercury is connected to communication, and it's considered to be like the lower mind, or like the earthly plane, earthly level of communication and processing information. And Uranus is considered to be the higher octave of Mercury. And Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, and they are in a square to each other. So Uranus is in Taurus at 23 degrees, and Mercury is at 26 degrees Aquarius. And this square between these two energies of information and processing and brilliance is an energy that has the potential of creating something powerful and innovative. And this is something that we can see, that we can see come to fruition, because Uranus is in the sign of Taurus, which is an earth sign, and with Mercury in the sign of Aquarius, which is an air sign, we can utilize the power of our mind and our thoughts to manifest whatever it is that we desire. And there was actually a recent video that Matthias de Stefano came out with that speaks to connecting the mind and the heart. So being that rainbow bridge between the two, and using our breath and our heart, making sure that the breath and the heart are in resonance. And so if we think about the breath, it's like connected to air. Aquarius is an air sign, which speaks to communication and thoughts and ideas. So the way I kind of see this is the ideas and the thoughts and the messages that are communicated from the brain to the heart is very important to be conscious of, to be very aware of what you're curating. So making sure that the visual, audio, everything, all the codes, all of the messages that you're taking in is something that you want to see more of. So just being very conscious of what we are all co-creating, and so being mindful of, the information that you take in, the visual images that you're taking in, because when you're breathing, when you're like meditating or just breathing, we want to make sure that it's something that we want to see more of. And being in a heart space of rest, so not necessarily like when you're sleeping or just laying meditating, but when your heart is at rest, when you're not in a state of stress or heightened uncertainty, or like you're not in traffic rushing to get from point A to B, or you're not having these negative thoughts that have you spinning out of control. You want to be in a forgiving, accepting space, so that your heart can be at a restful level, so that your breath can also be in that same sort of rhythm, if that makes sense. So like being consciously aware of how your breath and your heartbeat are dancing with one another. Then I feel like this is a reminder to dance in that rhythm of the earthly offerings, whether that is with the sun and the moon. In Matthias de Stefano's video, he is focusing on the solstices and the equinoxes. So those are the rhythms that we can connect with in order to stay in resonance with the Earth's rhythms, the Earth's patterns. And we can do the same thing with our own breath and heartbeat. And another signature that I found synchronistic was where the ruler of Taurus is, which is Venus. Venus is in the sign of Aries at 5 degrees during this full moon, and 5 degrees is connected to Leo. Leo is the 5th sign. And Venus in Aries is that energy of being assertive about what you want. Typically, they consider Venus to be in detriment when it's in the sign of Aries, because Venus is the ruler of Libra, and Libra is in opposition to Aries. So instead of Venus being in a space of reception, receiving, attracting, and harmony, Venus in Aries is more like a go-getter, like combative, like wanting to go after what you want instead of like allowing it to come to you. And it's got that Mars kind of flavor to it, where there's a more aggressive, I guess, yang kind of energy to Venus, when Venus is archetypically a yin energy. So this is speaking to even that much more not caring about what other people think, and being like having the courage to be disliked. There is actually a book called The Courage to be Disliked by Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. So how to free yourself, change your life, and achieve real happiness. And one of the quotes that I picked up from just kind of like looking into this book, I haven't read the entire book, but I just kind of, I don't know how I stumbled upon this book, but one of the quotes that I really feel connected to, and I feel it's connected to this full moon in Leo, is a healthy feeling of inferiority is not something that comes from comparing oneself to others. It comes from one's comparison with one's ideal self. So I feel like that is like that higher frequency level of Venus and Aries where you're not being competitive with other people. It is like healthy competition with yourself. Because Aries is known to be like this winner kind of energy, like achieving, being the first. But I feel like we've come and evolved the archetype of Aries to embody this kind of virtue, I guess it would be called, to keep your higher self in mind. So comparison with one's ideal self, I see the ideal self as also being our higher self, our future self. And so making our future self, our higher self, our ideal self proud by letting go of other people's judgments or, needing anybody else's approval. And that kind of leads me to the Sabian symbol of this Leo full moon, which is at 25 Leo because we round up. So it is a large camel crossing a vast and forbidding desert. And so this speaks to the resiliency and self-sufficiency that we all have, and knowing that we don't need anything else from external sources. We have everything we need to carry ourselves across the desert. So in times of chaos, in times of these challenging events that are happening around us, we have everything we need to carry us through, to not just survive but thrive. And another synchronicity that we have that I noticed is how Mercury, being the ruler of our South Node in Virgo, is allowing us to let go of those outdated, obsolete ideas of order, of having our energy drained in order to survive, in order to pay our bills and enjoy the comforts of life. This is going to be a huge paradigm shift, and this is going to take a lot of conscious releasing, because we have been so programmed to believe that we have to work and earn and completely drain ourselves of our own life force in order to earn a paycheck just to pay our bills. So this is going to be a dissolving of that belief. Like the North Node in Pisces and the South Node in Virgo is a huge access of themes relating to work-life balance, order versus surrender, and criticism versus acceptance. So we'll be experiencing lessons across those themes over the next 18 months. And another synchronicity that I noticed about this full moon in Leo is the position of Regulus. And Regulus has recently moved into, it's still in the constellation of Leo, but in the tropical zodiac, it's actually moved into 0 degrees Virgo. And with the South Node in Virgo, by the time we're done with this cycle, by the time the South Node reaches 0 degrees Virgo, we'll be dissolving those shadow sides of Regulus. And Regulus has been connected to, people in authority, the crown, nobility, the monarchy. It'll be interesting to see how the South Node in Virgo starts to diminish those shadow sides of authority and control. Especially with the 0 degree in Virgo. Virgo is connected to control. and like keeping things in order, in a certain kind of regimented order. And we can already kind of see this happening with Mercury, when Mercury was in a square to Uranus over the weekend, and we received those memos of dismantling. And this is like a big awakening moment of breakdown and breakthroughs and big change. You know, this is change that we have been anticipating but not knowing how it's going to show up. So now that it is happening, this can be very destabilizing. And so this is something to embrace. You know, that's the thing about Aquarius energy, is that there's a constant need for change. And the change that's happening, the change that is happening is something that has been overdue. You know, there's something that has not been working. We may not even be privy to the actual mechanisms of how corrupt these systems have been, but Uranus, the planets, the energy, the universe is aware of everything that is going on. And so if it is undergoing change, it has been something that has not been productive in a way that serves the collective in a positive way. So yeah, this is a full moon in Leo that will affect the other fixed signs, Taurus and Scorpio. It's something to embrace, is something to lean into. Lean into the creativity and the spontaneity of the changes. And I feel like this is also a dance with the changes. Like, we want to be able to enjoy the changes that are happening because it is long overdue. And if you could see into the future and how the signatures are being choreographed to support our sovereignty and our individual creative expression, then we would be able to really see how the universe is conspiring in our favor at all times. So I think that's all I wanted to mention. Oh, and there is something that Heather Ensworth mentioned about some fixed stars that are also supporting our trust in the universe. So Varda and Manwe, Varda and Manwe, Manwe, were mentioned in the Lord of the Rings series, how Varda and Manwe created the universe. Varda is the queen of the stars and was able to hold her center aligned with light and stood against evil. And Manwe is the king of the valor and ruler of the skies, governs winds, clouds, and birds. And Varda is at 29 degrees Sagittarius, so in alignment with the galactic center. The galactic center is that black hole in space where we're able to receive universal messages and really connect with those energies of higher wisdoms. And Manwe is at 2 degrees Aries, so 3 degrees from Venus and Aries. So that's another energy that we can lean into, knowing that Varda is able to stand against the evils of the world and stay in her light. And so we have that in us. So if you have any planets or points around the galactic center, around 27 degrees Sagittarius, then we can lean into that and know that we have that potential and energy to stand in our light, to stay centered. And with Manwe at 2 degrees Aries, we can uphold the cosmic order and uphold wisdom over force. So hopefully that made sense, and hopefully that was helpful. And yeah, just stay centered and grounded and enjoy the energies, dance with the rhythms, connect your breath with your heartbeat, and know that we are cosmically supported. Hopefully that made sense. Enjoy your full moon in Leo, and I hope to see you on the next one. All the best.